Just on Australia's front on this, I mean, we've got the Attorney General heading over, many saying that the PM should be the one going to visit Israel and mend ties there. I guess on this, you've written an article, a column on this, saying that the Albanese government is sort of the worst we've had in Australia on national security. Why do you think that?
Well, I think it's the second worst. You can't take the crown from Gough Whitlam. He was a complete disaster on national security, much worse even than Albanese. But we're having an anti-Semitism crisis in this country now. It's one of the most shameful, terrible, unbelievable things. Synagogues are being burnt down. Swastikas and vile racist slogans are being painted on Jewish homes and on Jewish cars. And in my view, although the government certainly is not remotely anti-Semitic, they have completely failed to grasp either the Australian national interest or the moral principles at stake in these disputes. So their failure to denounce anti-Semitism properly, right from that first hideous demonstration at the Sydney Opera House, where it was, if not kill the Jews, it was F the Jews or where are the Jews or whatever, their absurd equation of anti-Semitism with Islamophobia, and their one-sided demonisation of Israel. So the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said the people who made one-sided demands of Israel encouraged Hamas not to do a deal because Hamas was happy to see Israel getting this isolation. Now, Israel has been an ally of Australia for decades, and the Albanese government put not one speck of store by that. Now, there are a lot of other reasons why it's a disastrous government in national security. Our defence forces are weaker than they were when Albanese came to government. The submarine thing is a complete debacle. Regionally, we've lost influence. The defence budget is nowhere near matching what it needs to be. But on this Middle East stuff, we have very little influence in the Middle East. What influence we've had, we've used for bad purposes. And as a result of their combination of foreign policy and lack of moral leadership at home, we've got the worst anti-Semitism we've ever seen in this country. This is a new thing for us.
Yeah, it's abhorrent. I guess this pre-election campaign blitz is well and truly underway here in Australia. Do you think then that Peter Dutton's sort of seemingly hardline approach on multiple fronts that you've just spoken about too, on those issues of anti-Semitism, but also cost of living support on a number of fronts, is he what will resonate with the masses?
Look, it's hard to say. I mean, this has been a very bad year for incumbents, a very, very bad year for incumbents. And what has killed the incumbents has generally not been moral foreign policy issues, it's been cost of living. Although certainly Americans identified, I think, with Trump's more muscular approach. Dutton has been surprisingly effective as opposition leader. He's been more politically effective, to be honest, than I expected him to be. He's held the coalition together and they're a credible alternative. Certainly on the Middle East and foreign policy, he's infinitely better than Albanese. I hope he appoints James Paterson to replace Simon Birmingham, who was also a very effective shadow foreign minister. But, you know, Dutton has an enormous mountain to climb if he wants to win government. On the other hand, Albanese will also have to get a swing to hold majority government, and that also almost never happens with a first-term government. So the Liberals had a terrible loss last time. Labor didn't have a big win. So we are in uncharted political territory. It would be a very bad outcome for this country to get minority government because we're facing very dangerous times in national security. You know, China's got the biggest military build-up in human history, short of wartime, and we're doing absolutely nothing about it. Our government is completely asleep at the wheel, so we need a strong majority government.
Just on the topic of China, I mean, Kevin Rudd, should he stay as ambassador to the United States? There are questions around that, though. Most people saying that he's done a significantly really good job, and particularly his relationship with China is a good thing for us. Then there are some rumours about Scott Morrison potentially stepping into that role, but that would no doubt not really make sense politically, would it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I think Rudd has done a brilliant job as ambassador. I mean, I want to be, in my analysis, always dictated by the facts. Rudd, it's not so much that his relationship with China is good for Australia, it's his expertise on China. So he's just written a truly brilliant book on Xi Jinping. But everything Rudd says about China contradicts everything Albanese says. So Rudd, in his book on Xi Jinping, says this is an ideological communist regime which is determined to export its dictatorial model throughout the world. Now, I think the great benefit for Australia having Rudd in Washington is that everyone in the US who takes China seriously wants to talk to Rudd. Now, Rudd, like all the other senior Labor people, made some silly remarks about Trump in the past. Whether that's enough to make Trump refuse to deal with him, I don't know. But right at the moment, there is nobody in the Albanese team who is showing any real competence in this area, except for Rudd. So they'd be mad to get rid of him unless they have to. It's hard to imagine Scott Morrison could be the ambassador of the Albanese government in Washington. I mean, just that all just doesn't seem to make any sense. He'd have to promote policies he doesn't agree with. Albanese would have to accept that he'd failed with America and needed to return to a Liberal politician, and so on. I mean, we live in an age of impossibilities, but it's hard to imagine.
It is hard to imagine. We do have to wrap things up. I've run out of time, but I want to get your thoughts. Do you think the PM should pick up the phone and ring Elon Musk to get Starlink's help for the NBN?
Well, look, the NBN has been a colossal cock-up. We are becoming the can't-do nation. You know, the Snowy hydro scheme is $1 gazillion over budget and they can't even drill the rock. The NDIS is about 100 times more expensive than we expected it to be. The NBN has been a white elephant. I don't know that, certainly it would be better if the PM had a relationship with high tech in Silicon Valley than not. But, you know, there are all kinds of basic things the government needs to do. You know, maybe it's invested so much money in NBN, it's just got to go down this road. There's no danger of NBN being privatised because what private company would be mug enough to buy it?